theorem. Okay? Now, really quickly, guys, who remembers what a converse is? Peyton? True. You switch the hypotenuse and the, or not the hypothesis, yes, and the conclusion, right? So if the Pythagorean theorem says if there is a right triangle, then a squared plus b squared equals c squared, what would be the converse? So if it's a right triangle, then a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So what would be the converse?
Yeah.
So switch the if and the then. If it's a right triangle, then a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Right. So the converse says if c squared equals a squared plus b squared, then the triangle would be what type of triangle? A right triangle. So in section 7.1, you were given a diagram. You were given two sides of a right triangle, and you had to use the Pythagorean theorem to solve it. So you were given a right triangle, and then you used the Pythagorean theorem to solve for an unknown side. Now, in section 7.2, I'm going to give you all three sides, and I'm going to ask you, is it a right triangle? And we will know if it's a right triangle if it satisfies a squared plus b squared equals c squared, or c squared equals a squared plus b squared, which is the same thing. Okay, so let's look at the first example. Here I have 9, 12, and 15. Determine whether the triangle side lengths form a right triangle. Well, the hardest part of this lesson is deciding which one's going to be the C, which number up there should be the C. Why should it be 15? Because it's the largest side, and if C is our hypotenuse, that should be the largest side. So I'm going to make 9 be my A, 12 be my B, 15 be my C. And now I'm going to check. Does A squared plus B squared, so 9 squared plus 12 squared, is that equal to, question mark, 15 squared? Well, 9 squared is 81. 12 squared is 144. 81 plus 144 is what? 225. What's 15 squared? So does 225 equal 225? So is it a right triangle? Yes. Yes. It's a right triangle.
You know those numbers that you told us to memorize, like 3, 4, 5?
Yep, the Pythagorean triple. So 3, 4, 5 is a right triangle because it would satisfy
Well,
it.
that's what I was thinking because, like, if you reduce all these 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, that would go to a 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so that would be a Pythagorean triple. Exactly. All right, let's look at B. Which number should be your C? 15. So now let's check. Does 9 squared plus 10 squared equal 15 squared? Probably not, right? The other one did. So 81 plus 100 is 181. Is that equal to a 225? No, so that means that it is not a right triangle. So if it's not a right triangle, what else could it be?
I have a question. Do you have to write that out, or can you just write no?
You can just write no.
I thought
Well, so right would be by its angles. What other type of angles could a triangle have? It could be acute or obtuse, right? So if it's not a right triangle, then that means it's got to be acute or it's got to be obtuse. So if it's an obtuse triangle, then your C squared is going to end up being larger, so greater than A squared plus B squared. So if you think about this, envision a triangle. So my arm to my elbow, fingertips to my elbow, and then from my elbow to my elbow. So everybody see the triangle?
Yeah.
Okay, so if it's a right triangle, so if at my fingertips is a right angle, c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared. If your c squared is larger than a squared plus b squared, you see how it would be an obtuse angle at my fingertips?
Yeah.
If your c squared would be smaller, then it would be what type of triangle? Acute. Good. So for a acute triangle, your c squared is going to be less than your a squared plus b squared. So, in section 7.2, given three sides of a triangle, you should be able to determine what type of triangle it would be. Is it going to be a right triangle? If it is a right triangle, then a squared plus b squared would equal c squared. If it's obtuse, then your c squared would be the larger number. If it's acute, then your c squared would be the smaller number. Okay, and then just envision my arms moving around like that while you're thinking about it. So if we look at number 1, which number should be your c? 14. So let's set up 10 squared plus 11 squared, and then we're going to compare it to 14 squared. So 10 squared is 100, 11 squared is 121, 14 squared is 196. So 100 plus 121 is 221. So, looking at your C,
Oh wait, so that would be acute.
is your C larger or smaller? Smaller. So if my C is smaller, my C squared is smaller, it's going to be acute. So this would be an acute triangle. Yeah, so we're going to do 12 squared plus 16 squared. And compare it to 20 squared. So 12 squared plus 16 squared is 400. What's 20 squared? 400. So they are equal, so that means it's going to be a right triangle. And the last one, gentlemen, we have 4 squared plus 7 squared. 4 squared plus 7 squared, I'm just typing it into my calculator, gets us 65. What is 9 squared? 81. So my c squared is larger, so that means it's going to be obtuse. Questions?